My name is Jason Nations. I have been in security. I guess I'm going almost done with my second decade of working specifically in a security role. I have probably spent my career, I've spent my career in three or four different industry verticals and have focused on IT security, OT security, making sure that the companies that I work for are protected and able to do what it is that they do. I don't think that we look at Picnic as a tool is not the way we think of it. Is we're thinking programmatically, how are we integrating capabilities into our um, data governance, data loss prevention, and privacy program? How are we doing that? And this is a very big tool in the toolkit to be able to execute that. And it's not about the tool; it's about the capability and the program. One of the things that Picnic does is with the idea of these sort of high value targets, right? Because I think everybody knows who their high or should know who their highest risk users are for because they're public facing or they have root level privileges into something or they are the controller or writing checks or they can order a whole bunch of stuff on their company credit card or they're a buyer or whatever. If you know who your high value targets are, well, then you can then have extra controls around them as sort of crown jewels. And I would go back to say, what better type of protection than protection that you do for somebody that doesn't impact them, doesn't hurt them, doesn't prevent them from executing their job, but makes them less of a target. That's kind of like a win-win-win, if you ask me. I think it's really helpful. If I got to put them in a concrete bunker every day and they got to have a convoy to get to and from work and they can't talk to anybody and can't have electronic devices in their office because they could be eavesdropped on, like they're again, like if you're a nuclear missile silo, you got to operate that way. If you're not, you got to do business because we're not in the business. My company's not in the business of security. We're in a different business, right? That where we operate. When we've explained why this thing matters, it clicks and they are like, oh, okay, so you mean I'm not going to get specifically targeted spear phishing emails at me? Great. I'm all for that. Everybody would vote to be on that one. If like who wouldn't sign up to have all of their data removed from data brokers? Right? Everybody would have a party if the data brokers were out of business. And so every end user, I don't know if maybe if people are using it for their business, I don't know, but I believe it's kind of shady if an organization is calling information without my permission and then making it on purpose difficult to get rid of that information so that they can make money off of me. I'm not really up for that, and I think most folks are in the same boat. So being able to sort of shut down some of these avenues where we can make ourselves less likely to be attacked, right? If we get rid of phone numbers, we get rid of work and personal emails, we get rid of birthdays, we get rid of other things that people could use to run through FCC red flag kind of things with vendors that we may use. That now you can't impersonate me as easily. Like, fantastic. I mean, from a risk reductions perspective, now you can actually quantify that. And that's sort of a brass ring that a lot of us in this industry are trying to get to is how do I quantify what I'm spending versus what I'm receiving? And that historically, right? Like there's not been an easy or a clear way to do that, right? Am I getting fewer attacks because I'm not under attack as much, or I'm not a target today, or am I getting fewer attacks because I'm not seeing them, or am I getting fewer attacks because I'm blocking them and people are leaving me alone? Like there are a lot of scenarios that you have to talk through, and so I think the ability of Picnic to be able to come back to be able to show us using some of our own telemetry, like integrating some of our telemetry that we already have through our messaging platforms or other communications platforms, because then now we could create a trend. And so we can say, if we have 20,000 blocked phishing messages or 20,000 fewer, maybe that's a better way to think of it. 20,000 fewer phishing messages over a quarter. we can get some actual hard data to show, well, this is why we're paying for that. So if this is one that is high value, low friction, which is my belief, that's our experience with Picnic to this point, is high value, low friction, acceptable cost. And if we were to chart all that out, right, and we talked about sort of pro con of what we're doing, right, I don't have to teach all of my staff how to use an interface. I don't have to have experts in Picnic on my staff because I've got them from you, and that you're able to execute your core competency in support of us executing our core competency, right? And again, that's a really great thing. How many software products have any of us ever had that, I mean, you had to go learn a special programming language just to be able to interact with it, or you had to memorize multiple screens and you had to know, well, there are 5 modules and this module does this and this module does this and this module does this, but they all have similar names. And so if you're not in it every day, it's going to be difficult to get expertise. And then if the product changes, then you're starting all over, right? And so from a easy uptake and easy execution, it's been fantastic. And I would say too, from my end user perspective, there are very few tools in our arsenal of security tools that my typical end user has awareness of. But because we have been on this journey with Picnic and we're providing data to let people make choices, and we're providing information about what it is and how we utilize it, I would say that a lot of our employees have knowledge of what Picnic is and how it can help and how it's helping them. Picnic is a thing that is, again, we're not having to maintain anything, we're not having to do anything, it just works. And that, I would tell you from a security perspective, that's pretty awesome.